Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for the nice introduction. Really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining me today with this nice presentation, the nice case study that I will be sharing with you today. The case study I will be sharing will be looking at specific successful COVID-19 crisis management strategies in Uae Utilities. My name is Marcell. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. This is the agenda. We will have a look at the timeline. We will be looking at utilities in the UAE. We will have a look at COVID-19 management strategies, returning to work requirements and the actions that was taken, some lessons that was learned, also some SWOT analysis and pest analysis outcomes to share nicely with you that you can have a look. Okay. The UAE has a population of almost 10 million people. The first positive case in the UAE was reported on the 29th of January, 2020. Since the 29th of January, some things has happened in the timeline that I want to share with you today. It's nice to share this to understand exactly what the major focus was at that specific time. So 29th of January, first positive case. 8th of January, government utilities implemented travel restrictions and self-quarantine for travelers. This is employees. Those travelers are specifically employees. On the 16th of March, government utilities implemented work from distance categories. Now, both these dates are flattening the curve strategies. This is the strategies that was taken by DEWA to make sure that they flatten the curve. Okay. On the 24th of March, all non-essential staff was working from distance, and all essential staff continued with the critical work. Now, this period, because people were at work and it was a very new crisis management, what I'll be sharing with you today is exactly how DEWA did it on the beginning when we did not know how to deal with the whole crisis situation. Then after that, on the 31st of May, 15% of government utility workforce was told they can return to work. And by the 14th of June, everybody was allowed to come back to work. Except for certain categories, and I'll share that with you also. This last two dates is important to understand. That was the herd immunity strategy that was adopted by government. The slide here shows exactly that UAE as a country is doing a lot of effort to make sure that they monitor and they control and they mitigate the COVID-19 crisis or pandemic. Okay, so from a population point of view, I mentioned there's almost 10 million people. As you can see, the total tests is 11 million tests that's been taken. At the moment, UAE is ranked as country number 7 in terms of tests per 1 million population. But comparing the population and the number of tests, as you can see on the list, the UAE far exceeds anybody else, what anybody else is doing in the top 10. Then from a timeline perspective, I'll take you through from May to September. In May, gradually the number of new cases, as you can see on the brown line, gradually those number of cases of new cases increased. Then in June, it gradually decreased, as you can see, and it was basically flattened for that period, like I said in the timeline I've discussed before. Slowly but surely in July, in the beginning, it went a little bit up. There was a little bit of a peak, but it just kept on creeping at the same level throughout July. Then in August, slowly but surely, it started to increase, as you can see on the screen here. And in September, we, for the first time, the UAE noted and recorded and reported more than 1,000 positive new cases in a single day. Okay, so moving over to utilities. As an introduction to UAE utilities, we have a few government utilities. In terms of the total number, the Gulf Talent reports 36 utilities, companies are available in the UAE. But we are talking today about UAE government utilities, and in terms of them, there's only 4. The first one, Abu Dhabi, Water and Electricity Authority, that's responsible for Abu Dhabi. Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, that's responsible for Dubai. Sharjah, which is responsible for Sharjah. And the last one is the Federal Water and Electricity Authority, which is responsible for Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah, Ajman, and Al Quwain. As you are aware, for me, I would like to speak today about DEWA, Dubai Electricity Water Authority. In my opinion, Dubai Electricity and Water Authority is one of the best utilities in the world. I am also employed by DEWA, and I can tell you from first-hand experience that they are excellent. DEWA was formed in January 1992, and in Dubai, it is the government utility that is responsible for the generation, the distribution, and transmission of water. And in Dubai, it is the utility that is responsible for the generation, distribution, and transmission of electricity, the desalination, transmission, and distribution of water. Today, DEWA has more than 11,000 employees and more than 880,000 customers. From a scope point of view, DEWA has 21 400 kV substations, 258 132 kV substations, 101 33 kV substations, and more than 35,000 11 and 6.6 kV substations. Taking that huge scope of work in mind, DEWA is really excellent, as I said, and in 2018, to showcase, for example, as an example, how excellent they are, in 2018, the UAE, represented by DEWA, ranked number 1 globally for getting electricity. Then going a little bit deeper into the scope of work for DEWA, DEWA has a Jebel Ali M station, which is the UAE's biggest power production and desalination plant, and it has an H station at Al Uae. The H station has a total capacity at the moment of just a little bit less than 2,000 megawatts, but as soon as the 4th phase of construction is complete, it will almost have 3,000 megawatts of capacity, which is brilliant. DEWA has a head office, which at the moment spreads about 650,000 square feet and includes a transmission and distribution control center as well as administrative building. And the administrative building has a capacity of 2,350 people that's working for DEWA that can be seated there. DEWA is also very proud to have a sustainable building. This sustainable building was the first sustainable green building in the UAE, and it's the largest government building in the world to receive the platinum rating. DEWA also has 11 customer happiness centers. Some of these are under construction at the moment, but in total, there is 11 of them, customer happiness centers. In terms of health and safety, DEWA is world-class, truly world-class. The Health and Safety Department was established in 1995, and since then has just really gone from stride to stride, winning a lot of awards. The DEWA Health and Safety Management System has been accredited with the British Safety Council since 2002. That is an external assurance body that comes to DEWA on an annual basis and fully audits all the health and safety management systems. DEWA has accredited the health and safety management system also in terms of OSHA's 18001, and that's been since 2003. It's at the moment, it's busy with the transition from OSHA's 18001 to ISO 45001. DEWA has won the Swot of Honor Award from the British Safety Council 12 times. At the moment, DEWA is waiting for its 13th award. The assessors was here, they've audited everything, and the award is in the pipeline for the 13th time. The Swot of Honor Award is truly a prestigious award, and in my opinion, one of the most prestigious awards in terms of health and safety worldwide that any organization can achieve. I've also listed some other excellent achievements here, which is especially around 2016 that DEWA has won. Two of those awards, the Middle East Electricity Award and the Best Business UK Award, both of those awards were specifically done for DEWA Contractor Management System. So from an overview for that system, it's nice to share that DEWA has a current labor force of contractors of about 40,000. These 40,000 contractors are employed and working on 120 active construction projects. The projects include water and sewer projects, transmission substations, generation, sewer projects, IPP projects. There's also a new head office that's under construction at the moment. And when this head office is finished, It will be the largest and the tallest, smartest government zero energy building in the world. The Health and Safety Department and the health and safety drive of DEWA is also evident in the numerous regionally and internationally awards that DEWA has won. I've put a list on here just to give an example and to explain the, I'll redo the slide. To showcase how excellent DEWA is in terms of health and safety, I've listed here a whole list of awards that DEWA has won, where in each one of these awards, a strong feature of health and safety was required to win that award. We are also very proud of our MD and CEO, which was showcased on the Ethical Boardroom magazine a few years ago. Very recently, DEWA won the BSc COVID-19 Assurance Audit statement. This statement, DEWA was the first to receive it in the GCC and Middle East region, and it's specifically for COVID requirements. DEWA scored 100% compliance in terms of the BSc, British Safety Council, audit specification requirements, which is a risk management and control measures. I've listed on the screen there so that you can see exactly what those requirements were. Very stringent, very strict requirements that DEWA has demonstrated practically that they comply with. In this presentation, I will show you how. So when the COVID-19 pandemic started, the immediate actions that was taken is the simple things that I think most organizations is doing at the moment. For example, the installation of thermal cameras, the deployment of nurses at all the main buildings, signage and stickers, physical distancing implementation, PPE specifications, sanitization material specifications and requirements, approving all those, installation of wall-mounted dispensers and bottles, sanitization of offices and vehicles and workshops. I've listed the numbers there so that you can see the sheer number of these things that we've been doing. This is the actual numbers that we've been doing since the 28th of February. The first DEWA case was on 28th of February. And health and safety workplace inspections to monitor compliance. From a purely management point of view for the crisis management, I'm sharing here with you today that DEWA in the beginning created strong documentation and policies and procedures to manage the pandemic. In one of those guidelines, it was clearly mentioned that the first thing that DEWA has done was categorize staff into category A, B, or C. Category A staff is anyone that is COVID positive. Category B staff is any person that was in direct contact with the category A staff, and category C staff is any person that was in direct contact with a category B person. From an isolation point of view, category B and category C is isolated by DEWA, and I'll explain about isolation centers in a minute, where category A staff are isolated by DHA, Dubai Health Authority. So that's what brings the next few points. Appointing COVID-19 coordinators throughout all the divisions, making sure that we have transportation between us and the testing centers, making sure the communication is there, making sure that we transport our people if they have to go to for isolation, that we make sure that we can get them there. All these things and all these guidelines was done locally here in DEWA as per the requirements of the WHO, the Dubai Health Authority, and also the COVID-19 crisis management department. As you can see there on the screen, this is the requirements. I've mentioned about the isolation. In total, DEWA has 3 isolation centers with a total of 354 beds. These 3 isolation centers has 24/7 nursing staff, there's 3 meals a day, there's full PPE, and there's sanitization services that's maintained. DEWA also has arranged WhatsApp support groups to make sure that people that are in those 3 Isolation centers are supported 24/7, whatever they need to talk about, everything is available to them. Then when somebody is isolated in one of our isolation centers, the de-isolating strategy or the de-isolation flowchart I've shared here with you so that you can see exactly how the process goes for the person to be de-isolated. While they are in isolation during that period, there's also health and well-being strategies that's followed. These health and well-being strategies include awareness and e-shots, COVID-19 remote trainings over WebEx, Zoom, and Teams, and also stress surveys that we share with our staff to make sure we understand exactly if there's any issues. In terms of the number of guidelines that was created for COVID-19, this is the list of the 10 guidelines, from contractor guidelines to mask guidelines, admission guidelines, quarantine guidelines, that was developed and implemented. From this perspective that I'm showing on the slide now is the sheer number of work that the employees from HR, health and safety has also been doing to make sure that there's a strong system in place now. People are informed and they are supported and they have the awareness that they need to be doing. What's interesting here at the moment is DEWA has allowed for 471 staff who are currently in their own home countries to be working from that home country. When the crisis management came to a point where everything was under control and the strong systems was evident, Dubai government has given permission for Uae Utilities to slowly but surely return to work. As you can see here on the screen, His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, he had a statement saying, "Life continues, achievements are ongoing, and experience has made us stronger, better and faster. The coming phase requires us to have a new spirit, new, different thinking, and to work faster and with greater flexibility." So this was the period that slowly but surely staff was allowed to come back to work. So from that perspective, the main activities is listed here with the mechanisms. From a main activity perspective, it was the formulation of resumption of work processes, and you can see the flow charts there that was developed. Develop monitoring techniques of employees and implement those monitoring techniques. Ensuring disinfection and sanitization of all offices and areas. Maintain regular communication with employees and update on the information so that they know exactly, they are aware of what's going on. And maintain the mental and physical well-being of staff. This list here was specifically designed internally to make sure that all the requirements are met. This is the actual list that DEWA has given to all its departments to roll out. This list includes the list of requirements with the department that's responsible. As you can see there, for example, who is responsible for the hand sanitizers, who's responsible for the actual sanitization plan, who's responsible for the physical distancing, the remote assistance of meetings, training workers, and so on. I've mentioned the list of people that is excluded from returning to work. So for DEWA's circumstances, any person that is older than 60 is allowed to work from distance. Any person that is people of determination, at the moment there's 24 special needs staff, DEWA. Mothers with kids in the 9th grade or younger, because the schools are closed, they are allowed to work from home. And staff who have any immune deficiencies or certain acute illnesses as listed on the screen there. These people also are allowed to work from home or work from distance. There was a very strong and detailed management system framework that included a returning to work checklist that was devised. The returning to work checklist was sent out to all the divisions and departments to complete and to return back to the health and safety department for verification. Here's some nice examples to show the stickers, the posters, social distancing, everything that was done through our DEWA to make sure that while people are at work, they are protected and making sure that they feel safe and that they are safe. Then on June 22nd, it was announced that the Dubai residents who are overseas, they are allowed to come back. There was also very strong procedures put in place for this, making sure that the person has a PR test before he is allowed to board the plane, when the person arrives here in Dubai, that he or she goes for a PRC test again, and while they are waiting for their PCR test, they are isolated in one of our isolation centers. Then on the next day, June 23rd, it was also announced that Dubai citizens and residents are allowed to travel abroad. So that brought in that extra perspective of opening the borders, having all those requirements, understanding the 14-day quarantine periods if anybody is positive. And then on July 7th, Dubai announced that it is open for visitors and tourists from July 7th, making sure that we are opening our economy again to the rest of the world. From that perspective, there was a lot of procedures and requirements that was posted and that was implemented strictly. At a DEWA level, in terms of the mosques and the prayer rooms, the total for those buildings at the moment is 46 buildings, and the capacity is 3,822. The requirement for mosques and prayer rooms was announced that they can open on the 25th of July. I've listed the requirements here. You can read them in your own time. It includes when you can go, how long you can go, what you can use, what you cannot use, what you can take with you, how you have to act, social distancing requirements, all those type of things. In terms of DEWA childcare centers, DEWA has 4 childcare centers with a total capacity of 155 children. These are children for our employees that we have there. There was a period at the moment that they are still closed, and this is done remotely now with some online programs for the moms with the kids. But we are in the process now of opening these gradually. They have not opened yet, but we are in the process. I've shared with you here the list of requirements that we are currently working on to make sure that we can open them safely, as well as some screenshots so that you can understand what we have from a risk management perspective. There's an example from a risk assessment that I've included here for your own viewing. Some strong lessons that I want to share with you today that was learned by Uae Utilities includes the need for change in the mind and the culture, the effectiveness and efficiency of human resources in terms of SAP and smart applications, the importance of finding and developing electronic systems for remote working, updating guidelines and procedures and protocol for work, effectiveness and efficiency of electronic training platforms, importance of automating staff assessment centers, electronic teaching aids, which speaks for itself, necessary plans to respond to health emergencies, not relying on a single source of human security resources, the importance of speed when sterilizing and sanitizing offices, the importance of agility and flexibility, maintaining effective relationships, and using modern techniques for detecting symptoms and possible diseases and viruses. Very proud to say that at the moment, DEWAs have a recovery rate of 96%. And we're extremely proud of that here in the Uae utility sector. From a SWOT analysis point of view, I'm listing here the exact strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that was officially recorded by the UAE utility companies. I wanted to share this with you in detail so that you can understand the creativity, the seriousness, and also the sincere way that here in the UAE, we are trying to make a difference, making sure that we understand the situation and that we can go forward. I'm also listing for you the PESTEL analysis, which is the political, the economy, the social, technology, environment, and legal. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure speaking with you today. These are the references that I've used. I would open now the opportunity for any questions. I welcome all your questions. Thank you so much for listening to me. I really appreciate it. Let's have some questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marcell. That was a great insight to see what DEWA have been doing behind the scenes and how it continues business and lead and provide these exemplary standards of detailed thinking and focus it's placed around protecting its customers and employees. So thank you very much for that detailed insight. Much appreciated. Given what you've done, I mean, what were the reactions from your personnel as to how DEWA have been dealing with COVID, and how did you test that experience?
Peter, thank you so much for the opportunity. So yes, in the beginning, especially when it started in February, I would say March, April, May, in the beginning, the first 3 months was very tough. It was working long hours, making sure that the commitment is there, making sure that the researchers and the medical personnel is focused and agile to adopt to the new environment, making sure that everything is done the way it should be. That was quite a challenge. So we've made sure that we've curved not to work on weekends. The first 3 months, obviously, we were working 24/7. But after that, we made sure that we give the guys ample time off, be a little bit more lenient if they wanted to have some time off and some specific things. DEWA is also very supportive in terms of employee happiness. There's a very strong system in place called the jury. So the jury is a system where we have awards and vouchers that we can give our staff. So needless to say, obviously in those 3 months, I was writing a lot of the jury certificates for awards and vouchers and things to make sure that everybody's happy and everybody has the support that they need. There was also a lot of drive regarding, like I said in the presentation, stress and counseling. But that also goes for our staff, making sure that everybody is in line with what they need to be doing. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm a user of DEWA services, being a resident of Dubai. So I'm well aware of these happiness centres and the way that they strive. The challenge is continuing to do better day by day. And at what point do you peak? And certainly it's when you see this sort of stuff in the background, it's impressive. So it's great to see. I mean, what from a COVID-19 standards and delivery requirement, I mean, how have you worked with your contractors to make sure that they're actually following the systems and the procedures that you're wanting them to oblige to? And what sort of challenges have you faced as a business?
Oh, thank you very much. That's a brilliant question. Peter, in the presentation, I've mentioned that at the moment, we have 120 construction projects that we are responsible for. We've also won numerous awards for the contract and management system that DEWA currently has implemented. So that was a very good and solid background or backbone that was already implemented to make sure that the communication is there, the systems is there, that we could just add on all the new standards. I mentioned in the presentation that Dubai is very, very strong in the agility of adopting new procedures and mitigating the risk through these procedures. So that agility in the first 3 months was not only for our own DEWA procedures and our own DEWA management system, but also rolling that out to contractors. So that's a really brilliant question, because we managed it through a way that we made sure that our safety engineers still goes to site, even though there was a long period of remote audits, making sure that the contractors has the procedures, the contractors knows exactly what is required of them, and everything is in line with what is the requirements, what needs to be done. The challenges in that was, like I said in the beginning, people didn't actually want to go. So we set up a very strong system for remote audit and remote checklists, making sure that everything is in place. So it was a challenge, but since DEWA is such a robust and agile company, it definitely worked out fine. Thank you very much.
I think it's interesting, because if you look at any of the government agencies, they absolutely excel in everything they do. For me, the digital part, which is just great. I renewed my driving license the other day, and I go to the opticians, I have it done, and then she says, sit down, and within minutes, my digital driving license is on my phone. It's just awesome what they do. So from
Absolutely.
a leadership perspective, all credit. I mean, I think that once that we're over COVID and we will be soon, inshallah, how do you see business going back to how it was? Or do you think that this will be used as an opportunity for DEWA to reset the expectations and where we go forward with this? How do you think that this will play out?
Peter, I think the lessons learned during this pandemic was phenomenal, and I think it was important. There's a huge value in the things that was developed to make sure that, for example, the remote working, as I said, is implemented professionally, production is maintained, all the KPIs are maintained and even exceeded. There's a lot of my colleagues that would tell you that the production in DEWA has actually exceeded some of the benchmark performances. Right. So I think there's a lot of positive things that came out of this. especially, we were forced into a situation where we had to be agile and we had to adopt. And I think it was done very professionally. And I think it was done brilliantly. And I think the lessons learned out of that, especially like you're saying, technology, and going forward with this is definitely a win-win situation. It makes everybody stronger, for sure.
I think that when you look at DEWA as an organisation, I mean, it's a massively complex business in terms of energy production, energy distribution, and energy consumption at the back end in terms of as a consumer or as a user,
Exactly.
and trying to make sure that is covered across the bases.
And what's making it even more complex is that it's water and electricity, so it's really absolutely, that's absolutely spot on.
So, well, listen, Marcell, it's been great chatting to you. I really appreciate the presentation that you did. It's been most informative, and I think that to be able to get under the skin and see what goes on back of house in some of these large organisations is extremely valuable for us all. So there's some great lessons learned, and I appreciate your time and thank you very much indeed for your contribution to today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.